Another thing I'd like to point out, uh, going back on to the point where I give more context to the Stoicism argument, I'd like to point out there's a point where Ryan says, I get that you're frustrated with identity politics, and I'm on board with you on that. He's quite like Ryan. This is a unique instance in which Ryan is agreeing with Michael on his stance on identity politics. But Ryan is saying that although I agree with you, you need a better approach to answering identity politics. Now, this next part really kind of annoys me. He quotes Ryan reading this argument called the debate K, where he says like debate is bad, discussion is bad, blah blah blah, and states it as if that's his belief, that's like what he's teaching, what other people should believe, which is really unethical. And this is one of the main reasons you need to be skeptical of Michael, because he misinterprets it as Ryan saying that this is his ideas. Ryan does not believe in this argument. He's presenting it in context to a lecture of possible arguments to run or even talk about.
Moving on. Disfigurement's good. There's a whole bunch of stuff about memory, self-ownership. Oh, there's the debate K.
As you can see, he's literally just reading off arguments on a document. He isn't teaching it as truth. And if you knew anything about Ryan's NDT 2013 debate, in that debate, he uniquely says that debate is good and that debate is a home. Again, this is proof that Ryan doesn't always base his arguments predicated off like truth. That's what his belief is. He always switches sides. But that's not just him. It's everyone. I've seen people argue that he has split personalities. That's not true. Everyone switches sides in debate. Everyone chooses arguments that are beneficial to winning, not to their beliefs or their ideologies. Hopefully by this far into the video, you can understand my frustration with why I even had to make this video in the first place. I hope that that's clear enough for you all, seeing so far that Michael has cut out audio in here and has created a narrative that's not entirely true. And some of you might even say that I'm taking it out of context and making up my own story, right? But here's the thing. I'm adding to audio that Michael already showed. There's no way you can argue that I'm creating a story, making it up, because I'm literally giving the audio that plays before and after the parts that Michael shows. Now let's get to the final segment, which is the topic of Ryan not letting Michael debate. It had nothing to do with whiteness. It had nothing to do with Michael being white, or Ryan hating white people supposedly, or Ryan being a tyrant who only wants to talk about race. It had everything to do with Michael simply running a bad argument, and Ryan not wanting to waste university funds on a debater that is going to lose rounds. So next I'm going to play a clip of Ryan having practice with Michael and his partner, whose name I will omit for privacy concerns. In this clip, Ryan is cross-examining Michael and his partner on their affirmative arguments, and for the first minute, everything seems pretty normal.
Ready? Y'all ready for cross takes?
Sure.
Alright, let's start with solvency.
With what?
Solvency. The plan says the United States federal government fiat does not get you out of international perception of the plan. It gets you out of the current political climate of America, but it does not get you out of international perceptions of that climate.
Okay.
So why would they do it? Why would Putin cooperate with Trump? Cooperation is a two-way street.
So in that card, it specifically talks about how the Russian Space Agency wants to cooperate.
2012, when Obama was president. Why Trump, though?
The U.S. federal government
So
isn't.
your argument is the Department of Defense does not deal with international space cooperation.
Well, sure, with defense matters.
But then this is the point where Ryan starts to get concerned.
What our plan is talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Like, this is not like a debate about race. I'm asking you questions about the
Yeah.
political.
I'm just responding how I would respond in the debate round.
Yeah.
So I want to stop there real quick and point out how Ryan asks if Michael is okay, and even says, we're not talking about race, because he knows Michael doesn't like those arguments. He's trying to make it clear that he's on his side by notifying him that we're not talking about race. He's trying to help him become a better debater. There is no real tension here, right? Ryan is even making sure that Michael's okay, and he's so lax, and he's just in a setting where he's trying to teach his debaters. He even makes a funny little joke.
Next question is about The extinction being 19% possible.
Yeah.
Extinction for who?
Humanity.
Who is that?
All the humans on Earth.
What is a human?
A human is a Homo sapien, what me and you are, the species that we
I'm
are.
not a Homo sapien. I appreciate that. I'm homosexual.
Well,
The next portion is kind of long. They get back to talking about debate stuff, but I'm going to put a link on the screen of where you want to skip to if you don't want to listen to the whole thing. It ends on the part where we end on the whole "you can't debate unless you listen to me" part.
okay.
What are you talking about?
What
You're
do
just
you mean?
being real reactive to these questions.
But if
Yeah,
not,
what I'm
yeah.
saying is that the resolution has passed us being the United States, to create a policy which would increase
Yeah.
cooperation.
Well, yeah. So,
But what we cannot do is say that the United States and then the Russian federal government will put an X amount of dollars.
So we need
do
to
it.
find incentive for why Russia would work with us.
You need to find a space policy that would incentivize cooperation with Russia. Because we don't have a piece of evidence that says that.
yeah, we can find one. On my answer, because I don't want you to get angry at me because I'm disagreeing with you.
Okay. I don't, actually.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions? No. Those are my suggestions.
If we talk about the Earth getting like destroyed,
You
could
need
you?
to pick, you're trying to read 3 different apps. You need to read one by Humanity. Those are 3 different apps. You need to read one. Pick an idea and run with it. Not the hodgepodge approach. If I was you, I would pick option A, but that's just me.
And that was the.
Get off the rock.
Which is the one we're running? Like, colonize.
So I guess what I'm.
Motivated in space. That makes sense?
Ace of point. Don't need to beat this horse again, but the card is not about U.S.-Russia relation in China. So it's a bad card for the app. B, people competing with you does not increase the chances of us getting to space. I don't think those are good things, honestly. That's not what I said. I have a problem with people not being coachable. You don't understand why competition increases warming.
I mean, it might in certain field, like
might.
maybe like car competition,
I
more
would like
cars.
for you to find one piece of evidence in the world that says that it wouldn't.
Well, what I'm confused. So I mean, it's pretty much just like to make this stronger. We should say. I mean, we're included.
I thought I gave you some pretty good pointers, which is that you should choose one of the 3 apps that you're trying to read and run with it.
So instead of get off the app, like the rock, we could do potentially the one.
Personally, I think the Get Off the Rock app is the strongest of the options.
Okay.
Cooperation with other nations, when you've also read a piece of evidence that says that global warming and climate change is bringing us to our demise.
Well, it's already going to make us extinct, right? That's what the evidence indicates.
Right, but the more that we do it,
Yeah.
the faster extinction comes.
So what if the only way to avoid extinction is to increase the chance a little bit, but we still get to another planet?
I don't think that that's the case. You don't have a piece of evidence that suggests that. That was something that you decided to just slap on to the end of the affirmative. You either make the edits or you don't go. That's your choice.
Okay, so now it's after this point that Ryan stops the cross-examination. They're no longer practicing. All right, because basically what's happening is Michael he doesn't have a concise story about what his argument's about.
Stop an asteroid.
How does it slow global warming?
It doesn't.
How does it stop deforestation?
It doesn't.
So we're gonna die from those things either way.
We might. We aren't guaranteed to.
But you're evident. Okay, we're gonna stop this right now.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
So this next clip is probably the most damning part to answering Michael and his narrative that he's made about Ryan. He gives context as to the real reason why Ryan won't let him debate.
You either make the edits or you don't go. That's your choice. I'm not sending anybody out with bad arguments.
I mean, I've told you I don't think they're bad, but
I don't. Unfortunately, Weber State did not hire you to think in that regard. You actually paid the university. Everybody in here pays the university, right?
yeah.
They hired me to do that. And if you feel like you know more than me, bro, I don't know what to tell you.
No, it's I have arguments I like. I'm like you said.
Yes, and I'm trying to help you with them.
I appreciate
This would not be the app that I read. Any of those 3. But I'm telling you how to refine them and make them better, and you want to debate me about it? I'm not to be debated
I'm
with.
listening to you. I appreciate your...
You have not really done a lot of listening to me.
Listening doesn't mean agree. I'm thinking about what you're saying, processing it, and then I'm thinking about what I think of it.
Notice how Michael is saying, I appreciate you. He acknowledges what Ryan is trying to do for him, but just won't listen to the simple advice of get better evidence. Now, this next clip is just Michael's partner telling Ryan that they're going to do the edits he wants.
Him or
I mean,
there's why
you could
he's
say that we could also die because of the U.S.-China war now. That could be another reason why we go extinct, but I don't think you'll ever win the debate on vote F because we're all gonna die, therefore we should improve U.S.-China relations. Like, you're not gonna win that debate.
Okay, so we'll make some edits, and when we get here on Sunday, let's run it by you again.
Good to me.
Okay.
You can hear from Ryan's satisfaction when he says, sounds good. That's all he wanted.
Because we haven't even started talking about next stuff, which you have not given me, and you have less than 36 hours at this point.
Okay, should we talk about next stuff?
Well, you don't have an F, as far as I'm concerned.
Just say you can change it, because I was trying to tell you the same thing. Like, we can't make it a huge, because what I read is all your evidence is like, all this stuff could happen, it's going to be horrible, but maybe it doesn't happen.
Okay.
How does that, you get everybody into it, and then you pull it back into like different territories and make different arguments.
Everybody's
instead of
gonna
just
die. The earth
building
is
upon-
uninhabitable. We need to fucking leave.
Okay,
I don't
well-
know why that's a bad thing to say.
Okay, well, okay, we can think about, look at the F more, come up
I
with
know you
different stuff.
can. It's a question of are you, and it needs to change like city.
Okay.
We've been having the same fucking debate for a week, and I'm tired of debating you.
If you're at this point in the video and you still are on Michael's side, I don't know what to tell you except you are doing the same thing as him and you're just playing victim. Which is ironic because he's the one who's calling us and Ryan the ones who play victim. So everything you've watched up to this point was the meat of the video. I'm practically done here. I'm just gonna wrap it up now. I just got out of the shower. I went to bed at 7 o'clock in the morning last night, making sure this video was out by today. So in this final segment, I'm gonna address Michael's little comments about the policies that Ryan supposedly violates at this point. So he quotes PPM 9.1 saying that the faculty are entitled to freedom in discussing their subjects, but they should be careful not to introduce their teaching controversial matter which has no relation in the topic in the subject, right? Again, we already went over this. Ryan is teaching debate. Debate is free game right now. That's the meta of the event. I'm not saying that I support it or against it, but that's just the facts. And again, it's not like you can't really argue that there's no relation because that's in context to relation to the topic, but it's still about debate. And you can't prove why it's not. Next, he quotes, faculty should at all times be accurate and exercise appropriate restraint and show respect for opinions of others and should make every effort to indicate that they are not institutional spokespersons. So as far as Ryan's mannerisms and vulgarity, there's two things that happens here in every instance of the audio recording. One, it's when Ryan gives a academic reason why his arguments are good, but Michael just doesn't listen. So then Ryan just changes his mind and says, never mind, it's because I said so now. This is because Michael just won't listen. That's not his default setting. It's not just, oh, because I said so. He has reasons at first. He has logical reasons. And then he goes to, it's not logical anymore. Just do it because I'm tired of this, right? Because Michael, like, deliberates with Ryan over days about things that should be said and done within one sentence. It's ridiculous. And I mean, I know that Ryan can be vulgar sometimes, but every debate coach I've met swears and like gets mad at their students, but like not to the level of like abusive. I mean, what's really funny is Michael on a Reddit post was crying about how Ryan oppresses his white students, right? I asked Michael, okay, Michael, we'll buy your story if you can answer one question for me. How many white students besides yourself feel this way? No response. I'll go ahead and link that in the description below. So, I mean, in terms of Ryan's vulgarity, Sure, he can be rude sometimes, but you know what? He gets results. He got 2 debaters last year to the NDT, right? I mean, at best, I can say that he does it because he cares. You know, a lot of coaches you'll see in football, basketball, whatever, they get mad, but you know, they get results. So I can't really say anything else about that. Again, I already went over how it's the same as a basketball coach benching a player who's just not making good shots, he's not making good plays. It's all purely competitive. It has nothing to do with bias or race. And we already went over about how Michael not being allowed to debate is due to him not researching. It has nothing to do with bias. The reason the argument is bad is because Michael is saying impact is not likely, but we should prepare for it, right? The reason why this is bad in the context of the debate is that there are quite literally every other team is going to be arguing that you cause extinction if you are affirmative and they are negative, right? So if you're affirmative and you say that there's no extinction, there's no impact, you lose, right? Because there's basically how debate works is the judge typically will vote for whoever prevents the biggest impact, which is like the biggest bad thing. So if the affirmative is saying, oh, we might prevent extinction, and the negative saying is we definitely prevent extinction, you would vote negative. Right. So at the very end of the day, the best and most true argument Michael has is that perhaps Ryan can be rude, but that garners no real argument against Ryan and his reputation as a professor, as a coach. At best, it just kind of proves how sensitive Michael is and how he could have just grown some balls and became a better debater. But really, he's just a hurt snowflake and wanted to make a video to feel better about himself and feed his ego. So, yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching. I will be posting a second video soon after I take a couple of exams. It's going to be about the relationship between Zach Baker and Michael Moreno. It is going to be some extrapolations from articles that have statements from Ryan Wash and one of his assistants. I have some comments about how Michael's supporters are doxing the students at Weber State. So go ahead, please hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for other videos. I'm pretty sure after this whole fiasco is done, I'm probably not going to be making a lot more videos like this. I just wanted to defend my coach who did a lot for me. You can be mad at debate and the meta that occurs in there, but you can't be mad at Ryan Wash. On that note, I'll just finish with saying, don't hate the player, hate the game.